Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm having a good time tonight. If you've just joined us, you missed a really good program. Had a lot to talk about. We had, I think, about 4 or 5 segments. So, of course, you get to see it on jtvlive.net on demand, and you get to see it Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. here on JTV, channel 55. Brother Adams, welcome to Spotlight. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
This ain't your first time, so I
No,
know
no, I'm no stranger.
you're no stranger. So it's good to see you.
Good to be here.
We observing World Town Planning and Geographic Information Systems Day on Wednesday, November the 18th. Okay,
That's correct.
and you have a week of events.
It's confined to one day, but what we're doing for the week is more of a public awareness campaign. So we're taking this opportunity to highlight not only the celebration of those 2 days, but a broader look at planning and some of the things that we do in planning in the territory.
Okay, why we feel a need to have an observance on planning? You feel the public is not as aware as they should be. What are some of the challenges you experiences that the motivation to have such a observance?
It's for us locally. It's a challenge for us to get the word out to people as to what basic requirements are in planning. Unfortunately, one of the things that we have to deal with more often than I would care to express is the issue of illegal development. And many times when we contact people who find themselves, in an enforcement matter, they express to us they just didn't know what the requirements were. And so we feel that it's our job to enlighten them, make them more aware, to take away that part of the argument. And if we're successful in doing that, hopefully we could reduce the number of incidents we have as far as illegal or unauthorized development.
Okay. Now you have a theme, discovering the world through GIS and planning.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that theme. What that means, and what is GIS?
GIS is the acronym, as you said earlier, for Geographic Information Systems. It's a tool that we use as planners. GIS basically is what we call in the business a smart map. It's not only a pretty colorful map, but it has information attached to it. So we're able to map a lot of interesting issues and use the tool to do analysis. As you could imagine, with any technologically based tool, things change. And so having these annual celebrations gives us an opportunity to keep up with some of the changing technology, but also to share it with the wider community, share what the options are, what some of the issues that we can resolve or try to resolve with this tool are, and bring a greater awareness to not only GIS, but again, to planning as a whole.
Okay. Yeah, so what are some of the things, the new innovations that you're excited about in the GIS or in any technology that planning is that's being used in planning?
One of the things that we've spent the better part of last year doing is mapping all the buildings in the territory. We have possibly, I would say, 95% plus of them mapped. So we can look at all the buildings and not only see the buildings, but as I said, we have information attached to them, information such as the kind of building material it's made of, what it's being used for, what the general condition of the building is. And so that information now we could use to do any number of studies that we need to do. And we also work with other agencies, land registry, survey department, water and sewage, public works, inland revenue. So there are a number of other departments that could benefit from having that kind of information available to them. So I'm really excited about having that tool that we can share with the other agencies that do similar work to us.
Okay. And so on the way, are you, the activities that you're doing during the course of the week is mostly information giving activities.
That's correct.
And on the 18th, which is the actual observance day,
Right.
Is there any particular event that's planned for that day?
Yes, we have an open house at the Central Administration Complex. It's going to be in the West Atrium, that's on the side closest to Maria's by the Sea. We'll have displays by the different agencies that, again, use GIS as a tool on a regular basis to kick off the event, we're going to have a very brief opening ceremony, just to let people know what they can expect for that event during the day. Light refreshments, but then we're also trying to make it interactive and get people to be familiarize themselves with the tool involved. Hopefully, students from some of the schools in the territory, and just people from all walks of life to come by and see what the technology has to offer.
So you'll be able to come and look at the computer screen,
Yes.
and pick out where your house is.
Exactly.
Seriously?
Yes, you can, and it's going to be real-time information, and I won't give away the real hook, but a lot of people are surprised by one aspect of what the tool can do when they actually zoom in on the building that is there, whether it's their home or their place of business. So
you need to come and find out.
Come and
right?
find out.
I'm curious. I'm thinking, what could that be? You know.
It's a very useful tool, but it's also very user friendly. And we have so many different agencies, as I said, but also in the private sector, real estate agents, the utility companies, even delivery companies, FedEx, the like. There are many applications, or emergency services. So many applications for
Because
this
I
tool.
had a brother, I can't remember his name. I had a brother on the show one time who has a device where he's mapping the BVI, and he can go directly to your house.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
and so it's no longer where, oh well, you got to go in by the Hack Pen, go
Right.
down Bellevue Road, turn in by the Hack Pen, go straight across, going past
Mr. Potter, was it?
Yes,
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 yes. And that was quite fascinating to me, how he's able to do that, and what can all the business opportunities and the
Right.
conveniences
Yeah.
that comes out of that technology.
And for us, we've interacted with him, and he's taking a private sector approach. But for us on the public sector side, we look at some of the other uses, not only the analysis, but as I said, first responders. If you can have
Yes.
fire and rescue,
Ambulance.
police, have access to this kind of tool, it cuts down the time that it takes for them to respond to
Save
different
lives.
emergencies. Exactly.
Save
So
lives.
there's a whole range of benefits to be derived from it.
Yes, indeed. And you have a NGIS committee.
Yes.
What is that?
NGIS stands for National Geographic Information System. And that really comprises of all of the major players across government that work with the GIS tool. So while Town and Country Planning being, I would say, the lead agency, because we've had the benefit of it for much longer than many others, but we consult and we work with Land Registry, Inland Revenue, Water and Sewage, Disaster Management, Environmental Health, Police, Fire. So all of these various agencies are represented on the National Committee, and we get input from them as to how we can expand the use of GIS across the civil service.
Cool. And now, the information that you just talked about that you're able to gather, what are some of the things that you're going to use that information for? You could say where the location is. That would allow us to have addresses,
Right? Yeah.
right? And of course, find the buildings, the places easier. What are some of the other things that that benefits the community by using the technology?
Right. You've touched on a very important one, addresses. We have been working, we being the Town and Country Planning Department, we've been working for years on building a national addressing system. And I'm sure you and some of your audience may have seen, particularly along Main Street, where
Yes.
there have been historically some addresses that were installed.
Yes.
That was a part of a pilot project that was done years ago. Those addresses, believe it or not, are still accurate under the system that we're currently developing. So the GIS tool gives us the platform by which we can create addresses for every building in the territory. Part of the challenge with that is just coming up with a complement of street names. There are several that we agree on, but there are many that we'll have to go through a process that we're designing to determine what the street name will be. And then it'll be just a computer exercise to assign the addresses along that particular street. So that's a very important project. Earlier this year, we got some funding and we were able to start the pilot project by putting up a number of street names throughout Rural Town. That's going to be the first area that we work on, because many of the streets in Rural Town already have widely accepted names. So once we have those street signs posted, we can then start to publish the physical addresses to the buildings, and people can start navigating and acknowledging the buildings based on that address and not the convoluted directions as you were alluding to a while ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, we could have that would pave the way for a mail delivery system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mail delivery, and as we've said, first responders, emergency services, food delivery.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I could sit up in my living room and order up some tofu and some vegetarian food and watch a movie on my TV and relax and not have to leave the house.
And the other part that we don't normally think about, because it doesn't really directly affect us, is that the tourism market.
Yes.
We have a number of visitors that would prefer to drive because from all accounts we have a lot of return visitors.
Yeah.
So even for new visitors to be able to find their way, even if by foot or by vehicle, the addresses would be a much more efficient way.
And they'll be able to use their GPS tracking devices and so on. I mean, listen, I can't tell you how many tourists I've helped to give directions to.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, because I could tell if I'm driving going home and I have to go up through Bellevue, and they usually like to go up in the hills and see the scenery.
Yeah.
And you can see them with their map, and they look in and they stop and they blocking you off. they don't even realize that they holding up traffic sometimes, you know.
And I'll give you a real example, especially now that we're doing a lot of road work. Sometimes they may be familiar with the main route, but if that main route is blocked and there's a detour, all bets off.
Well, not only the visitors, I'm stuck.
As well.
I'm stuck. I was amazed a few weeks ago when there was some blockage in Bellevue, that there was a road to go around and come down further down along Bellevue. I mean, there's so many roads that we don't know about.
Because we don't have to travel.
We don't have to travel the roads. That, you know.
One of the interesting things that I've discovered with my use of the technology is route planning. Finding the most efficient route. So if you have a company that's based on deliveries, this type of software can help you to plan which is the shortest route based on time or based on distance, so that you can make your business more efficient. So,
and when traffic is heavy in one area, you could go around.
Find a detour.
So
a number of uses.
So what activities is the initiatives Town and Country Planning is involved in right now, using this technology and in terms of planning development of the territory?
Good question. One of the things we do every month, we have a planning authority meeting where we review all the applications that are presented for that cycle. And we have this technology at every meeting, so that if there's an application for a particular property, we can look at the context, see what is the existing development around it, to verify and test whether or not what's being proposed matches its surroundings. So we use it on that level daily, even monthly.
So it's sort of like a de facto zoning.
In absence of zoning, we have to use prevailing land use pattern. So it's a de facto zoning approach, in other words. Yeah.
Well, that one of my questions is when we're going to get zoning, because I think a lot of a great concern of many homeowners is that you build your $1.2 million house in the hill, and somebody come and put a garage right next to it.
Very, very interesting point. And it's a concern that we
destroy the whole property value.
Yeah. And that has a very direct impact on the economy of the territory.
Yes.
If property values start to decline, your intake from valuations and property taxes goes down. So it has a very real effect on the economy. To the question though, getting zoning is going to take us a while, because zoning is a tool that we use to implement a land use vision. So in other words, before we get to zoning, we have to agree on what the land use vision is. How are we going to arrange land use planning and activities throughout the territory? Once we've agreed on that vision, then zoning could be the tool that we use to enforce or implement that particular vision.
That sounds like a really big challenge.
It's a big task,
Yeah.
because it has to be a very public one and one that is derived out of consensus. So you can imagine the challenges that will come along.
Because you're telling me how to use my land.
Exactly.
You know, I mean,
That is at
this
the
is my
heart of
this
it.
is my land, and what I want to put here
Yeah.
for my benefit,
Yeah.
you don't say nothing about it.
Exactly, and that's an attitude or a mindset that as planners we have to deal with every single day. How do we balance the individual interests versus the community interest?
The community and national
Yeah,
interest.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow. Now I noticed that you have some plans going on, some big plans going on for certain areas like Josiah's Bay, and,
Right.
and talk us about some of those plans.
Yeah, so what we do, again, since we don't have a national plan for the territory, when we have certain development taking place in a localized area, we have to try to be as proactive as possible in making sure that development is done in a sustainable way. So what we've been noticing in Josiah's Bay has been a number of issues. We're getting a wide range of uses, everything from residential to some resort, restaurant, beach, beach-related beach bars,
Yeah,
chicken farms.
yeah.
I think recently the Humane Society's new property has been approved for development. So there's a whole range of uses we're seeing there. One of the challenges there is access. One road in and one road out.
Yeah.
Another one is just the configuration of the properties. We have a lot of long, narrow properties that are not very suitable for large-scale development. So when you put all of those challenges into the mix, but you have applications coming in for development proposals on a regular basis, at some point you have to say, hold on, we need to take a broader look at this area. We can't just be approving individual development proposals for properties. Let's look at the area and come up with a strategy, a vision for how we'd like to see the area develop. What are some of the things that would thrive in this area? What's working now? What are the challenges now? How can we steer this in a more sustainable way? Looking at the issue of drainage, the pond is a huge factor in Josiah's Bay.
Yes.
How can we accentuate it and make it a part of the growth and the development long term of Josiah's Bay? And so we're undertaking a local area plan, we call it, and we've had one public meeting with the community in Josiah's Bay already. We're at the stage now where we've taken that initial feedback, and as the professionals, we're going through scenarios that we think would be acceptable based on the issues that were raised in that meeting. So the next step will be to take it back to the community and help them to sort through those issues to point to what is the consensus vision, and then we'll write the policies that hopefully would help them to implement that chosen vision.
Yeah. Now, are we thinking about a territory-wide master plan?
Yes.
What are some of the processes that we're engaged in now to try to come up with that master plan? Because some of the same challenges we discussed earlier, zoning in particular,
Yes.
land use generally throughout the territory, some of those things need to be addressed not only from our individual interests, but from our tourism product interests, our
Exactly.
national interests, our economy, as you pointed out. What are we doing in that regard?
We have had a project on the table for a little over 2 years now. We call it the NPDP, the National Physical Development Plan. In other words, that's our proposed strategy to come up with a land use vision for the entire British Virgin Islands. It has already been approved by Cabinet. We're at the point now where we're trying to get funding allocated for it so that we can hire the requisite consultants to help us to write the plan. What we've done so far locally in the department is to set up the terms of reference. We, as the people that live here, we know the issues that we want to have addressed. So we're not just going to have a consultant come in and say, write a plan for us. We'll say, write a plan, but here are the issues that we need you to address within that
This is
plan.
our vision and our goals.
Yes. Based on a number of issues. For example, demographics is a key issue that has to be at the heart of any plan that we write. When we do planning studies, we look at the area for a certain amount of time, whether it's 20, 25 years out. So we need to know, based on what our population is now, what our demographics are now, what do we expect it to be in the next 15, 20, 25 years? Who are we writing this plan for? What is the population going to look like? Is it older?
What
Is it
what
younger?
services and infrastructure is going to be needed in that area as we develop?
Exactly. And once we identify what services, how much of these services, recreational, how many new roads we may need to connect people to the places that they need to go, utilities, water, electricity, sewer, all of these have to
Opening up of land access.
healthcare facilities, homes for the elderly, all of these have to be put into the mix. And once we understand what our demographic is going to look like, we can then start to make sense of what the balance needs to be to solve that community that we envision in the next 20, 25 years.
And this is something that we are in the process right now.
Yes.
You have any idea of when the public is going to get a look at that? 4 years, 5 years?
Well, my hope is that it's sooner. We haven't gone any further than putting the terms of references together. Once we can get funding for it, hopefully in this upcoming budget cycle, we will quickly identify a consultant, and that's when we'll start to engage the public. And you may see things like public meetings, maybe design charrettes, all across the territory, getting people involved and engaged in this whole idea of writing a national plan, so that it's not someone coming and telling us what the plan is going to be.
Giving you instructions.
They're going to write it based on how we steer them,
What
the
our needs
direction, what that we identify. Correct.
And we fall under the tyranny of the clock, as you well know. But law enforcement is a challenge in all aspects of our community. And I jokingly mentioned, in the beginning about putting you on the hot seat and allowing people to do these things. And I know that you don't, but we do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. How is that working out? Because, you have some people who build their houses right up to the road.
Yeah.
Some people who build, they take up every square inch of land and put a building on it, and got 5 apartments, 6 apartments, 8 apartments, and want to pack the tenants' cars on the street.
Yeah.
How are we managing? What are we looking at that? I mean, you must be seeing that regularly.
Yeah. I say to people, unfortunately, it's one of the things that we spend a significant amount of our time doing. So much so that since I've been there, I've actually created a monitoring team. And their primary function is to go around just looking for construction activities, verifying whether or not these are construction activities that we've sanctioned, and beyond that, whether or not they're building in accordance with the plans that we've approved. Many times, that is the case. They're good to go, and we just monitor it, and they're fine. As you've indicated, there are people who just, still will do what they're going to do. Yeah.
But what do we have? What consequences do we have to prevent that? So the public needs to know that there's some consequences to be suffered if you just go ahead and do what you want.
Ultimately, the way our law is set up, the law can require that your property is demolished at your cost. That's the ultimate.
I think we
penalty.
need to know. I think we need to know more about that.
Yeah. Before it gets to that step, there are fines of starting at $50,000 for a first-time offense, and it can go up to $100,000 for repeat offenders. That's what the law allows. But I think the thing that I'd like to say to people, to the general public, is that it goes a lot more deeper than that, because when we have to engage an illegal development with an enforcement proceeding, we copy this proceeding to land registry and a number of other agencies. And many times it's registered on the property. So if you were to go to the bank to try to do something with that property,
It'll show up.
there's a charge on the property, or at least a caution,
Yes.
saying that there's this matter that needs to be reviewed. And I think that's the thing that people who choose to disregard the law don't realize, that while it may seem that you're getting ahead in this instance, it could become a major inconvenience for you
Later on down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we need to know that, because as you say, we think we're getting away with it.
Exactly.
You ain't doing nothing. You
Yeah.
come, you give the fine, you make a notation,
Yeah.
you give a warning, you talk to the person, you try to be nice,
And
and
they
you go
keep
and you
going.
go away, and they just keep going ahead
Yep.
thinking that, until they need a loan for completion.
Exactly.
They got to go to the bank. No, they have reached their pocketbook,
And here this matter
and
is
had this matter before
right staring
them.
them down.
Yeah.
It could become a major inconvenience.
Yeah. So you need the people, and I think perhaps Town and Country Planning need to do some more public information dissemination around the consequences.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we do enough around consequences.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to use this opportunity to do, not only to highlight the celebration of these two particular days, but to let people know what we do, the importance of what we do, and how it matters to them. What happens if they choose not to abide by the laws that we have to enforce. So hopefully we can continue this on and get some good traction in the community.
Absolutely, and I'm willing to assist in any way I can. So
Appreciate that.
I think I have you on Thursday
Yes.
on the radio as well.
Yes, indeed.
So you could continue the process, whether we celebrate an observance or someday or not. I think that process of education needs to continue.
I totally
so
agree.
Wednesday, the 18th of November.
Friday.
The 18th of November. Friday, the 18th of November. I know I get Wednesday from. But Friday, the 18th of November, we will come down to the Breezeway.
Yes.
There's the West Atrium.
Yes, the side closest to Maria's.
Right. And there's a exhibit.
Yes.
And
Interactive. A lot of it is electronic, so people can look forward to that. It's not going to be just walking as if you're in an art gallery. There are going to be stations that you could actually get hands-on and try, using the technology.
And there will be people there to assist you and to show you how to use it
At every station.
and show you the beauty and the value
That is
of the
correct.
system.
I think I may have misspoke. You're right. It's Wednesday the 18th.
It is Wednesday?
So I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the 18th.
The 18th.
Yeah,
the
the
18th
18th
for sure.
For sure.
Wherever that falls on your calendar.
Yeah. And it starts at what time during
It
the day?
starts at 9:30, I believe, is the opening ceremony, and we go throughout the day in the atrium. And usually what
And
we
it ends in
do
the afternoon
at 3.
at 3.
But we normally would leave up some of the static displays for a couple of days after for people who can't get there on that particular day.
Okay. Anything we left out?
No, I just would like to encourage people, if you are doing anything, especially if it involves hiring heavy equipment, contact the department before you engage those services, because usually if you have to hire heavy equipment to do something, more often than not, it would require permission from the planning authority. So if you're in doubt, just call us up. 468-3701 is the general government number, or 468-2158 gets you directly to the Town and Country Planning Department.
And it's economical for you to have a close relationship with Town and Country Planning, because you find that you end up spending a lot less money than you would have to otherwise.
Exactly. And we tell people all the time, we're here to advise as much as anything else. So
Yeah.
if you have a question,
You're not
we're
a
glad to
penal
help.
institution.
No. I would much rather advise than penalize.
Yeah. Brother Adams, it was a great pleasure. A lot of information. Thanks for coming by.
I appreciate the time.
I look forward to continuing the discussion.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Thank you for watching, and of course, thanks to all the great guests we had tonight and all the information we were able to share. Tune into Spotlight on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. here on JTV Channel 55. We broadcast Sundays at 2:30 p.m. You can also watch Spotlight on demand at jtvlive.net. Like my Facebook page at facebook.com/spotlightbvi. Also participate in discussions, suggest issues and guests, so that we could have some interesting and informative discussions. Find out about upcoming guests and topics that will be coming up on Spotlight next week. Because Spotlight will be We'll continue to shine on the Big Eye Tourist Board November Food Fest. November is big tourism season for those of us who enjoy staycations and those of us who enjoy the tourism product, our own tourism product. And we're going to be talking, of course, about events coming up, the Lobster Fest coming up at the end of the month. That's going to be a major event for the Tourist Board. Also, I'm going to have members of the University of the West Indies come by to talk to us about service training offerings that they have, how you could access greater service training for your employees, for yourself, so that we can enhance our tourism products. So be sure to tune in. Don't miss Spotlight next week. I'm Edjuenko, reminding you that when the spotlight is on, you see the facts. Peace and blessings.
Spotlight is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands and CCT Global Communications.